And here we go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Pulse of Ithaca Podcast, your local podcast for entertainment in the greater Ithaca, New York area. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sean, your host, and joining me is my ever-knowledgeable co-host, Pete. This week, we'll be discussing some upcoming concerts in Ithaca and exploring my recent visit to the Tamarak Lean To in Danby State Forest. Also, 10 minutes from now, we're going to be interviewing Matt O'Brien of Flying Object, who has a show on Thursday, November 8th at Deep Dive. Let's get started.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. So good to be here at the Canopy, downtown Ithaca, New York.
Yeah, business as usual. Business
as usual, that's right. Been a couple weeks since we got together. We were on hiatus last week.
Yeah.
So good to be back with you. I feel like I'm a little rusty for having an extra week off there.
Absolutely.
So super excited for our show today.
Yeah.
As you mentioned there in the intro, we're going to talk about some of the events coming up. You've got a nice hiking spot picked out for us.
I do.
And we're super excited after events to talk with Matt O'Brien of Flying Object. So really excited for today's show. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We've got, before we get into the shows that are going on over the next couple weeks, I want to talk a little bit about the Ithaca Reggae Fest. They announced their dates a few months back, June 21st and 22nd at Stewart Park. It's the 6th annual. And just this past Friday, they released their much-awaited lineup.
All right.
So I just wanted to kind of touch on their lineup and what they have going on, give a profile of some of the bands in case people aren't familiar. Really excited for this. I've been lucky enough to be a part of this festival, helping these guys out with their marketing and their website for the past few years. Super great group of guys and girls that put this on. So excited that we have something so awesome right here in our community.
Yeah.
And so looking at the lineup here, the headliner on Saturday night at Stewart Park is going to be John Brown's Body. So for those of you who are not familiar, they are an influential reggae American reggae band. They're known for their fusion of roots, reggae, and dub. They've been on hiatus for a while, but they're reuniting, guided by former frontman Kevin Kinsella, who's back with the band. And their music, celebrated for its rich harmonies, deep grooves, and progressive sound, has captivated audiences for years. This reunion marks a new chapter for the band, promising to reignite their powerful message of unity and healing through music. So I personally am super excited for that headliner. JBB is one of my all-time favorites. We did talk about them a couple of weeks ago. So super glad that they're going to be back touring in 2024.
Yes.
And this might be one of the earlier shows of their tour. I don't know if they haven't released a full tour yet, but we'll see where this show actually falls. But really excited to see them reunited and back on the stage. On Friday night, the Ithaca Reggae Fest does a really great job every year of bringing in a Jamaican artist. I think pretty much every year they've had somebody from Jamaica come play the festival.
Oh, wow.
This year, they're welcoming everybody on Friday night to a free show at Stewart Park. This will be at the Pavilion, not at the main stage.
Okay.
And it's going to feature Sister Nancy. She's an iconic figure in dancehall reggae from Kingston, Jamaica, and she's celebrated for her pioneering contributions as one of the first female DJs. Her 1982 hit Bam Bam is a genre-defining track. It's been sampled across music genres worldwide for decades, even into current-day music. And she's had a career that spanned over 4 decades. Her influence extends beyond reggae, embodying empowerment and resilience. And her distinctive voice and trailblazing spirit have made her a beloved and respected artist in the music community. So I think that's a huge grab for Friday night. As I mentioned, that show on Friday night is free. You do have to have a ticket to go to the show on Saturday at the main stage. Those are $35, and they're on sale at ithacareggaefest.com. I have a correction on that, actually. I messed up my order of operations here.
Oh, okay.
Sister Nancy's actually playing at the main stage on Saturday, so you do need to get a ticket to see her play before John Brown's Body. On Friday night, we actually have Pachyman, who's going to be doing the free show on Friday for everyone. So that's at the Pavilion. And Pachyman, for those of you who don't know, is a reggae and dub artist. He revitalizes the classic 70s and 80s dub scene with his authentic analog sound. He's been inspired by legends like King Tubby and Lee Scratch Perry, and he blends traditional dub with modern influences, showcasing his versatility as a multi-instrumentalist and producer. He's very well known for his dynamic live performances, and Pachyman offers a rich, immersive experience, making significant contributions to the dub genre with his dedication to roots and his innovative approach. So that's going to be a great show. And again, that's on Friday night for free at the Pavilion, on June 21st at Stewart Park in Ithaca, New York, right on the lake, and then Saturday, followed up by the main event.
Nice.
Also, there's a couple of regional bands that are going to be there, Mosaic Foundation with Cha-Cha, and Root Shock, hailing from Syracuse. Both of these bands have played the festival before, and like I said earlier, they do such a great job of getting both regional bands that we all want to see, but also bringing in national and international talent. So big props to the promoters and everybody over at Ithaca Reggae Fest for the great job that they've done. They did say there's more bands to be announced, so tickets do go up the closer we get to June 21st. So if you're thinking you're going to make it, snag those tickets online at a reduced price.
Do it now. So
yeah, ithacareggaefest.com. All right, so that's it for festival announcements or lineup announcements. We've got a couple shows coming up here this week that I was interested in. At Deep Dive, we have Flying Object opening up for the Bumping Uglies. So for people who are not familiar with Bumping Uglies, they're an American band hailing from Annapolis, Maryland. They're known for the unique blend of reggae, ska, and punk rock. They're fronted by lead vocalist and guitarist Brandon Hardesty. The band's music is characterized by insightful lyrics, catchy melodies, and a laid-back vibe that reflects their East Coast roots. Since their formation, their discography showcases a commitment to exploring themes of personal growth of love and challenges of life while maintaining a sense of humor and optimism. So, really excited for that show. Flying Object is opening. They hail from Rochester, New York. They're led by Matt O'Brien. He has his brother, Chris O'Brien, who we featured on the show a couple of weeks ago on drums.
We did.
Yeah, so really looking forward to that show. And we're going to get into a little bit more about Flying Object later in the show when we interview Matt. So those tickets are available at deepdiveithaca.com. From what I'm hearing, tickets have been selling fast, so definitely get those before they're sold out. And that's coming up on Thursday, February 8th. All right, so the last show that we had, we had a couple more shows here to talk about. The Range in Ithaca, down in the Commons, has a show on Saturday night with Double Tiger. That's Saturday, February 10th at 9:30 p.m. And for those of you who are not familiar, Double Tiger is a reggae project hailing from Ithaca, New York, spearheaded by the multi-talented musician and producer Jay Spaker. Known for its soulful blend of reggae, dub, and roots music, Double Tiger's sound is characterized by lush melodies, deep grooves, and a modern take on reggae vibes. And Spaker, he's known for his work with John Brown's Body and Dub Trio, infuses Double Tiger's music with his rich experience in the genre, creating tracks that resonate with both traditional reggae aficionados and new listeners alike. So,
nice.
Also super excited for that show. Our friend Carrie said that there's going to be some kind of a dance ensemble there. I'm not sure what the full...
What kind of dance?
I'm not sure what the exact... I think she said something, or I think maybe I said, I think it's like a Fly Girls kind of like dance troupe or something like that. So
what does that mean?
There's going to be like dancers. There's going to be like a dance squad there, and maybe not on stage. Maybe it's like going to be like... So
like choreographed? Like
yeah, I think there's some kind of...
Not like you and I like at the bar dancing?
No, I think this is like a dance group actually doing like maybe something in unison.
Yeah. That'd be super dope.
Yeah, so... make sure you get there and check that out. I'm excited. Nice. Carrie was super excited when she talked to us about it. I don't know that much has been talked about that, so you heard it here first.
On the Pulse of Ithaca Podcast.
All right, so the only other show we wanted to mention was our friends are hosting Scuba Bowl 2 at Liquid State Brewing on Saturday, February 10th at 7 p.m. It's a $10 cover. That event is hosted by Ithaca's own Scuba Jerry. And a lot of our friends, a lot of Matt's friends who we're about to interview are in that band. So definitely come out. We've talked about them a lot on this show here, but they're revisiting Scuba Bowl. It's the day before the Super Bowl at Liquid State Brewing. Be sure to get there early. The room filled up pretty fast last time. I think it was at capacity.
Yeah.
So bring your $10 and we'll see you guys there.
Have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that's the end of our first topic here. Hopefully everybody found something to do over the next a couple of weeks here in Ithaca. Up next, we're going to be interviewing Matt O'Brien, and he is the founding member and the former lead singer, frontman, and guitar player for Giant Panda Gorilla Dub Squad. He has significantly influenced reggae music landscape. His integral role in the band helped carve their unique sound that blends reggae roots and dub, marking a distinct chapter in the genre's evolution. After his departure from Giant Panda, O'Brien continued to showcase his talents with his band Thunderbody. His latest venture, Flying Object, reflects his deep-rooted passion and commitment to musical exploration. Through these projects, O'Brien continues to push the boundaries, offering fresh sounds and engaging performances that underscore his enduring impact in the local music scene. Matt O'Brien, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, Matt.
Yo, Sean, thanks for having me, fellas.
You're welcome.
Our pleasure.
I just wanted to say before we get started that I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. I remember seeing you with Giant Panda back at Club Infinity around 06, 07. I remember seeing you guys play some of the smaller venues in Buffalo. Nietzsche's in downtown Buffalo, down in Allentown, had some great shows there.
Nice.
So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I can't even, I'll say everything at once. Infinity, was that the place that was kind of a country square dance bar?
It absolutely was. Yeah, most of the week. And then they decided to start doing concerts.
For some reason, not play Buffalo a lot. And when we finally did, we were at this big, funny place.
Yeah.
And it was like, not tag, right? There were like a lot of you there. It was like, whoa, okay, Buffalo's a thing now.
Absolutely. Those were some wild shows, and the Buffalo fans were always rabid, and we had such a good time down there seeing you guys. And it was interesting because I lived in downtown Buffalo, and so it took me a good 25 minutes to get out there to the Burbs to where that venue was.
Burbs, I love it.
Yeah, it was. But those were good times. So thanks again for being with us. And I think at this point, we're just going to hop right into the first question. Sean, why don't you take things away here?
Sure. Matt, I'm going to start with the jugular question. What first drew you to music, and what were your earlier influences?
Easy question. The older I get to answer is the early, especially in the long run, my dad bought a drum set. And then I felt like a year later, but very shortly after that, bought an acoustic guitar.
Oh, wow.
And I was 5. So music, I always loved music. I'd already been singing along in the car with everything and loving the music. But he got those things, and nothing had ever made me so excited, and I'm still that excited.
That's awesome.
But the Beatles, he got me when he was seeing that I was really freaking out about music. Or even maybe right when I caught wind of the Beatles thing, he bought me the 20 number one hits and the Imagine movie soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
That's just like the answer to the question. I was like, okay, I know what we're doing now.
That's amazing. I had no idea that you guys were introduced, you and your brother were introduced to instruments at such a young age. That's really interesting.
Yeah, we were allowed to play them and everything. I had even taken piano lessons and stuff, but finding out at age 5 my dad could play the drums a little bit. He was good, but he was like a country drummer strictly. Everything he played sounded like country music.
Interesting. Okay, I did not know that.
But it was like a shock to me. Like I said, the older I get, the funnier it feels to remember what a shock it was. And I tell the story over and over again because it's such an easy answer. Yeah, he had this guitar. I was like, you know how to play it? And he would write songs. That was like what he thought you do with a guitar. And we'd sit on his lap and he'd say, what do you think the words should be? And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was like really young.
Wow. Well, that explains a lot. Having known you and your brother for a long time and seeing how proficient both of you are at songwriting and instruments and whatnot. So that makes a lot of sense. You guys were at an early age.
Very cool.
Yeah, and he was my brother close in age. So he was stuck with it was happening.
That's amazing.
Nice.
All right, so going back to your days with Giant Panda, can you share what inspired you as one of the co-founders of Giant Panda, and how did those early days shape your approach to music?
we were really hardcore about doing a very good job with that music, which of course we considered very sacred and hallowed ground, and we needed to be treading thoughtfully. Now nobody, I don't know, will agree if we did enough or not, but we worked really hard on it, and there was no doubt in our minds at a certain point in the very early 2000s that if you're going to do reggae. We didn't really want to sort of throw it in like as a mix-it-up. We wanted to throw everything else in as a mix-it-up on our... so that was the direction that band took. Obviously, my brother and I grew up together. James and my brother and I had played music since early, at least high school.
Right.
And we just kept going and going and going. There was maybe like some breaks in there, but that was the band that was always going to be the band. And as a unit, we decided at the time, which especially at that time might have been a really good idea, to give reggae our full effort.
Absolutely. And, speaking of that time and that period, what really drove me to you guys was that oftentimes with your live shows, you would have some songs or some dubs that went 10, 12 minutes, right? I have recordings where I used to come and tape your shows. You guys had very much a kind of psychedelic jam sound, that was perfectly layered with your reggae sound. Would you agree with that? And where did that come from? And how was it that you were able to weave that in there?
Well, the importance to, I guess why I emphasize, not only because you're asking me in this context, but the full commitment to do reggae and be reggae first was a specific decision. Inevitably, we would have been playing some kind of funky, groovy music that was intended for people to dance to, and that at the time in our lives would have probably taken the shape of like a jam band, like Fish.
Yes,
we love
absolutely.
Fish.
In fact, I discovered you guys.
Really into Fish,
I discovered
and
you guys.
we were really into like Medeski, Martin, and Wood, and improvisational music, and even passively, how could you not at the time have been super into hip hop?
Absolutely,
because it's so groovy, and that's just, I can specifically speak to the early years, and then dub gives you the outlet. Dub gives you the platform to be like, well, we're going to call the jamming dub, and we're going to serve the groove way more than we serve the virtuosic playing of instruments, which, from time to time did happen. I used to play a lot of guitar at the time, and could do like a big guitar solo or whatever, but it was really about what layer that was on a groovy palette.
Absolutely. I absolutely love seeing you guys perform live back in those days, and such a cool sound that you guys cultivated over that time. So, Sean, take it away. What do we have next here?
All right. So, as the frontman and lead guitar player for Giant Panda, can you give examples of some like memorable moments or like stories you had during that time?
Well, for example, when you mentioned the Infinity, that I think that only happened once, and people ask me questions like this in my personal life. Not that it's always on a podcast interview, but like people ask me questions, or they'll remember something specific. They'll say, "You remember the time when blah blah blah," and I super don't. Right. Like, especially then. We just played, so that Panda at that time played, like 150 gigs a year or something like that, like a lot of gigs.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember all of it specifically.
It's all put together.
Like some details somebody else remembers. But what are some memories? Like, okay, Infinity Music Hall was funny because it was a country split as far as I could tell, and all of a sudden this town 60 miles from our hometown, which we just hadn't done very much, was a thing. So you could pick the memories of like there's lots of traveling the country, getting pulled over memories. Those stories are always fun.
Right.
Like, like back in Panda days, we played Red Rocks. We opened this reggae festival one day. Mm-hmm. That like I'll have vivid memories of those kind of stuff. But yeah, we traveled a lot. Really, the driving, the And yeah, I mean that
So
it's also, we make a joke. I got to segue to the Geneseo show that we're doing on February 17th. It's called The Last Hang, and you say like the joke in Flying Object, to jump around in the timeline here.
Sure.
Is you never know when it's the last hang.
Right.
And like Panda's a great example of that. Like at the time, that wasn't what I was doing anymore. It was like extremely abrupt. And so it's funny, like how many years have gone by, blah, 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 add it all up equals what a fun, like what are the memories? Like all of the memories.
Yeah,
from
collectively, the entire thing. That's amazing. And that does lead us kind of into our next question. What led to your decision to leave Giant Panda, and how did you envision your musical journey moving forward at that point? Because you did go on to participate in a couple other bands after that. What was the mindset at that time, and what was going on at that time?
We were fried. We all were uniformly fried. We were doing what I thought from the middle of the stage was a very good job, and we were young, and everything was all built up, and like I said, as much as like the story is now history, the night I played my last Panda show wasn't like a planned thing.
Right. You talk about the last hang, right?
Right. Last hang.
You just like, you never know. You're like, did you know that show at the downstairs of Webster Hall is going to be the last? Nope.
Right.
So that's how that went. And then I was super determined to start Thunderbody, and I will also just jokingly say, yeah, because I can't get into it. I will say I was all wound up back then, man. At the time that happened, I don't have like anything good to say about my conduct toward my bandmates or anything like that day or the surrounding days that much. But like Thunderbody is funny because people still to this day ask me about Panda.
Yeah.
Way more than
well, I don't think it's ever been discussed anywhere. I know I've never asked you about it personally. I've never really.
Nobody ever does.
Yeah, I've never talked with anybody about it in the band, but I've always wondered, so I figured it was at least worth mentioning and asking. So thank you for giving us a candid answer there.
Oh yeah, and I love these dudes now. I'm like, oh man, I thought everyone in the whole world would ask then. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad they didn't.
Yeah, right. And I have seen you be reunited on the stage with them. I believe at Ithaca Reggae Fest a couple of years ago, you came out and sang a song with them on vocals, and so it's great that you guys are still able to hang and that you still get to play with them. Hope to see you up there on the stage with them again for some cameos as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, thank you.
So Thunderbody has a distinct sound style. How did you contribute to shaping this, and what were your main influences during this period? Like, why this decision to move to drums and lead vocals and move off the guitar? That's a three-pronged question right there, but...
Well, I got it. I watch Democracy Now! I'm sometimes like, wow, you just asked this person 7 questions.
Right.
I hope you remember them all.
Yeah. No, Thunderbody, the sound was inevitably going to be also not as a slide. It was just like, oh, better do something immediately. Right. And Rachel and I were in that new boat.
Rachel being the former keys player for Giant Panda.
Yeah, Rachel and I left Panda at the same time on the same occasion, and abruptly, and then just and we were together. We have a 10-year-old child now. We haven't been
right. Yeah,
all the stuff. Yeah, it's always so many stories. But yeah, we went to start Thunderbody, and I had a really specific idea, and so did Rach. We had a great vision of exactly what we would have been doing in Panda that we would have wanted to do differently.
And what was that exactly?
Well, I'm going to say this before I say what I say. Mm-hmm. I think that was a good thing because the creative difference at the time, I think, if you had to really boil it down to one particular thing, which isn't why the band split up, because I didn't know this was like such a strong difference until we were doing Thunderbody.
Right.
That we were having a lot of success in Panda going out with these like West Coast reggae bands where stuff was a lot more straightforward and simple and catchy and poppy, and they played like more of the same set every night and had their whole set kind of dialed in. And some of the people in Panda were like, that seems to be working. Maybe we should do that.
Right.
Like, that's how you do this, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was like, we stumbled into this, doing what we were doing.
Right.
Like, we didn't know anything about what other people think about how you're supposed to do it. And I think we should keep doing what we are trying to do. And that's, to me, emphasis on this super long, super rootsy, groovy dub stuff with where you push the envelope. But it's not, you don't want to be in a band either party. This is what I mean. It's good because Panda has been Panda since then.
Absolutely.
That does what they do.
Absolutely.
And it's like, you can see that they want to be doing it the way they're doing it.
Yeah,
and so like,
both bands have been both versions of the band were very successful. But to your point, I do see a stylistic difference on how you guys played in the early 2000 aughts, into where they're at now. There's a lot of similarities, but I can definitely see the differences there. So it's really interesting how that you were able to take Thunderbody and take what you wanted out of that experience and just get that band off the ground. You guys put out, I believe, one album. Is that right?
Thunderbody put out. This is the thing that cracks me up. I was only on two Panda albums, the live one and the Slow Down. Mm-hmm. Thunderbody did like 5 recordings. Maybe like one of them isn't out yet because we have one. But like, yeah, Thunderbody was a much more like I was in Thunderbody for longer than I was in Panda, and yeah, there's a ton of records, and we played. Yeah, it was just wackier, and I just have to also say the people in Thunderbody were the exact people we would have wanted to wind up with.
Yeah.
They're creative lunatics, and they're really, really good friends to this day. They're like, so it was just, okay, cool, you guys want to be in a lunatic psychedelic band?
Right.
Which I think Thunderbody was. That's, to me, I'm like, yes, it's very much reggae, and we did that, but
absolutely.
we were full indulgence in the other thing.
And to follow up on, or to reiterate Sean's question there, what was the decision to move from guitar into being drums?
Thank you for keeping me on track with that. It's a great question. So the drums and Thunderbody. The guitar is what I thought I was going to do. So as soon as Panda split, I was like really practicing guitar a lot because I wanted to make a whole big statement about it. But we had Chris English, we had Buddy Honeycutt, and then we had Buddy Honeycutt used to be in Panda in the era where there was this wild percussion happening the whole time. That was Buddy Honeycutt. And he was going to play drums in Thunderbody, and he moved to Tennessee. And he set us up with this guy that he knew from around town named Chris English, who was like, I'd never seen him before, but he was from Rochester, and he was here now, so we immediately wanted to be like, what's up, dude? So he was playing drums in Thunderbody for, like, the first few rehearsals, and as we now know, Chris English was starting Audio Influx at the same time, blah, blah, blah. So Chris, we got really close with him and got to be buddies, and now we're really close, but he just, like, didn't come to rehearsal one day or something, and I played drums.
Yeah.
And Dennis, I'll always give him credit. Dennis Mariano, who was the guitar player in Thunderbody before Sam was in the band and all throughout the whole thing, was like, you should just play drums. I was like, play drums and sing, like, in the band for real? He's like, yeah, you're doing it, like, totally the way you should.
Yeah.
And then we went and did some goof around shows and set up in the middle and did that whole thing where I was the singing drummer. I mean, that was one of the best. That was a great 8 years or however long that was. Like, I liked doing that. It was a little much.
Yeah,
but it was really fun.
That's amazing. It was such a cool transition for me to see as a fan following your career, and just to see, I mean, it was quite the switch up, right? Like, it was you on drums, it was a completely different band. So I think if you had been on guitar, obviously it would have had an entirely different dynamic to it. So really cool. It's not very common to see a lead singer or a frontman for a band playing drums. So super cool and really unique.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for asking and keeping me on track with the question.
Oh no, I just didn't want to forget.
I love also, apparently people think that's cool, so we might as well talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on a little bit, we've talked about your time with Giant Panda, we've talked about Thunderbody. I wanted to move on to talk about the formation of Flying Object, your current band that's playing tomorrow night with the Bumping Uglies at Deep Dive in Ithaca.
Deep Dive.
Thursday, February 8th. Tell us a little bit. This represents a pivotal moment in your career. What was the vision behind forming this band, and how does it differ musically and maybe even philosophically from those previous projects that we mentioned?
Great, I love the question. First of all, that's like I'm like, oh, cool. You asked me exactly what I want to talk about.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, Flying Object does not diverge philosophically too much. Maybe I'll answer the question backwards. Or necessarily musically in terms of frequencies that you might hear or feel, but like not reggae. I'm not anti. Obviously, I'm not anti.
Yeah. But
I'm just like, listen to this. Like I do this other thing with these songs, and we do this other thing, and my brother's into all this music. There was I started calling the music that I was trying to get across after Thunderbody Flying Object, but it never was a thing. Mm-hmm. And I was just writing songs. So in my head, it's a thing, and I was not having a very good time finding, because I've always played with, like, my immediate family, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Thunderbody, too. We were like, this is, like, my deepest homies from even the Panda era. It was all people I was already really, really close with. Flying Object, I, like, went just around trying to, like, find musicians to play with, all of whom are amazing and wonderful. And just nothing was happening. And then I did find these kids in Rochester and tried to start Flying Object. And they happened to be a jazz trio at Eastman. And I love them. And we got 2 gigs in, and then COVID hit. So then I had given up again, fully. Like, this whole, like, Flying Object, that's, like, not a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And
right.
So to say that I have a vision for what it was going to sound like, no. Like, because I wasn't trying to put together, like, Thunderbody had all these horns, and everybody, it was like a whole big thing.
Sure.
This was just songs. All I had was songs and my brother. So the band started when my brother entered this rehearsal space in Rochester, a different one, and a different one than we were talking about before we were recording, so nobody knows why I said a different one. Different rehearsal space, and we would get together in the mornings with our buddy Mike Martinez, who our relationship with him had been videographer, photographer, and we knew he played guitar and he's good at music.
Nice.
But he's like sort of side music, and you know, that's how we knew him, was from, so we got this, and we would get together and jam. And we sort of started to care, and I was just itching to play these tunes I'd written. So we learned some of my new tunes, and we were just kind of chilling. And that's how I started playing bass. We can segue on the musician thing, too. I play bass in Flying Object because Mike Martinez, it's his bass, but he likes to play guitar when we jam. My brother wants to play drums.
Nice.
So I had to play bass, and I would not like it because I'm not good at it. I was not good at it, and I clicked. I worked really hard on it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a bass player now. So I play bass in Flying Object.
That's amazing. I did not know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I wish I could get the whole thing across because it wasn't deliberate in terms of the vision. This one, I have to say, from all the joy, like Panda, I like had this whole specific uptight idea of what everything should be. Thunderbody, I got to do it. Like, we got to do it, like, exactly the way I want. It was awesome. I love it. Flying Object, I'm like, somebody be in a band with me, and it's like my brother and one of our best homies. And then Elliot Schwartzman, I don't know if you caught us with this keyboard player dude who was around. He was just in town. We met him playing with various people, and he liked us. He was, had grown up in Rochester and knew about Panda or whatever from all the way back in the day, and he wanted to play with us. But this guy's like a real pro. He's really, really good at playing the piano. He was he had been touring with the band Imagine Dragons for 5 years.
Wow.
Prior to, and like I didn't know who that was, but like all of our kids do.
Right.
They're huge because he's like, all right, I could tell stories about him. But anyway, the band was all of a sudden, like, sounding kind of good.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I have the confidence to do this now. And my brother was all about it. It was really my brother's idea. He's kind of like, why don't we just, like, all curate what we're doing? If we all want the same thing and you have this giant gaggle of songs, let's try to just play, if we all have, like, how much could go wrong with trying, and then we just, like, really liked it. And I'll stop there But the vision, and well, I'll stop there right after I mention that we went out and like tried to do these fake gigs, these gigs, just to see if it even felt like a band. We went and opened for Panda for 3 nights before the opener, you know, like first of 3.
Yeah.
And we had this dude, this like awesome keyboard player, and we're like having a really good time. It kind of sounded good. And then on the 3rd night, Dirty Blanket was the real opener. Dirty Blanket, who I hope everybody knows.
Yes.
And Max Flansburgh had hit me up about this tune, and we played, and we were like, play the tune with us. And then he did, and we loved it. So from then on, if we were going to play, which we were because we had this rush of confidence, we did a bunch of gigs after that. We asked Max to play, and he was there for all of them. So then it was like, wow, we have Max in the band, and he's like, wow, I get to be in your band. We're like, wow, this is a really great relationship. Yeah. So we're all so excited to all of a sudden have a band, and they're kind of like, why don't you, like, do you have any preferences? Like, I'm like, nope. I didn't know I was going to have you to have preferences, so how about just be great and we'll play the songs.
Nice.
That is amazing.
But the songs are the big one. I write the songs, and as long as the songs come across, that makes me happy at this point.
Definitely. So Matt, like reuniting with your brother and Fine Object must have been special. I mean, like, how's that reunion influence your band's dynamics and your personal approach to music?
I'm in all of it's like the silliest. Yes, I mean, that's what happened when me and you wouldn't know from listening to the podcast, but Chris and I have been very, very close, especially even in the last few years, but like all along throughout since we stopped being in Panda together. Like, so we're close, but now that we're doing it, it's like, what a waste. Too bad we had to like be so much older to have it be harmonious and perfect and inevitable, because it feels very, very good, and musically we lock in a certain way that I think is, like listening to it, I'm like, oh yeah, we're definitely playing together.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so great to see both of you up there on stage. You guys definitely look like you're happy to be back playing together in a band, and as a fan, I'm really excited to see you guys reunited. So super awesome.
It feels really good. Yeah, and I'm grateful to him too, because he really did kind of kick me in the butt into the direction of this being a thing.
Hell yeah. So we do have a few more questions here, and I'm super excited about these next few questions. You've mentioned the songwriting that you've done and how you had this catalog of songs, and Flying Object was a vehicle for you to kind of get these songs out there, and you had a band that was into it and wanted to play these songs. Can you describe your creative process and how you approach writing a new song, and how do you find your inspiration?
I will. This is another one. I'm older I get, and I'm like, yeah, it's all the time, and that doesn't always have an application. It was really mystifying, to me, in the years where I wasn't in a band and didn't have gigs and all the stuff surrounding COVID and all that. I'm like, why did I like double down on that being the only thing I want to do is write songs? Like, it was like I was stockpiling them for the day. Like, well, what if you all of a sudden have a band? You better have a bunch of songs. Like, and I just find it funny, but the process is just all the time. I would love for it to be more, I don't know how to say, like, responsible or feasible for it to be as much of an obsession for me as it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, and so in terms of the process, see, I've just gotten long-winded, but I'm talking about the process is like my whole day, every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like writing songs, if you were to ask a specific question, like, do you write the music or the words first? And I haven't had a chance for this to be like my overkill answer, but I do know that at this point in my life, it's pretty much like this. You're just like looking for songs. That's all I'm doing is looking for a song, like hoping one falls into my lap just out of nowhere in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then I work on it. But I always feel like
the song,
you get in the way of it. When you find it, all you got to do is like excavate it, brush it off. Like once you find it, you don't really need to fear very much. You just want to be like, found it, and then keep following that. And if it takes 3 years or whatever to even think about it again, it's cool. But don't force it.
This is really interesting to me as someone who doesn't play an instrument. and I'm not that well versed in music in general. Like I generally don't even know which sound is coming from which instrument. I'm very much a layman. So this idea of actually being able to create a song is just fascinating to me. Can you give me an example of a time when you felt like one fell in your lap, like you were at a certain place at a certain time? Like, do you literally write these on napkins? Like, what is that? What does that look like?
Moment of inspiration.
It looks like all right. So I used to. There were all different ways. I've tried every way of like gathering that energy or that inspiration, and I know now that I'll find them or like hear it. Okay, in your head. Like, this is what I mean. Like, you know how when you have a song in your head?
Yeah.
To answer your question specifically, when you have a song in your head, and
it appears out of nowhere for me.
The board applicable, but it's like I have a song in my head that's not a song yet, or whatever.
Right.
Like, so I'm gonna.
Unborn
so then
baby.
I'll be like, well, I want to make it a song, like right now in the kitchen, because I want that's a song. I'm like, I had that in my head yesterday too.
Yeah.
Like, in fact, I'm like, how often do I have this song in my head?
And do the lyrics come first in that situation, or is it more the music and the beat comes first?
No, yeah, and then I go, and then you start trying to learn the song, like as though I were learning a song that I don't yet know the words to off the radio. Or like if I'm learning a cover song, I look it up and learn it by ear, not to say like I do it perfectly or never would look up some weird detail, but
right.
Yeah, just listen to the song and play it, and then so sometimes I feel like writing a song is similar to you're like learning a tune, but you don't know how it goes yet. But yeah, it's a little bit of like the word, whatever the word is that or the thing that made you know you found a song is that's all you got. It's like there might be like a whole pyramid buried underneath the sand.
That's amazing.
But you know for sure that it's a pyramid because it's a big tip with four sides.
Again,
like,
this is just a...
You don't have like a laser analysis system to see what's going on underneath.
Right.
But you do know that if you just kind of keep at it and move the sand out of the way, you're going to see what's there. That's how I sometimes feel about the songs. And then, all the things that have happened in my life and my sense of how I like to speak or
sure
what I'm trying to get across informs what the lyrics are, but I do, even with that, try to just stay out of the way till that day you know exactly what to say.
Yeah.
Don't start thinking about, what are the lyrics and writing them down and stuff, because then you're stuck
right
with whatever you put there.
Well, I'm going to give your dad credit for some of this. I feel like, when you have... you bring home drums and a guitar and you get your kids down in front of them at such an early age. I think that probably just created some pathways for you where this just flows through to some extent. Yeah, so super cool. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Cool, man.
Well, heck yeah, that's an answer I always have to try to keep short, because that is the crux of what I feel like I'm doing with music. That process.
Cool.
Piecing the song.
Matt, I gotta ask you. If you could give your younger self advice at the start of your musical career, what would it be? Like, would you change anything? Would you if you had that opportunity, what would you do? What would you say to your younger self?
This is the one question that you sent that I think my mind ended up giving the most thought.
Okay.
And there's like a lot. So I guess I would say two things. I'd be like, so whatever you're doing in between, just play piano more. Like, play the piano. Like, while you're doing anything. Like, here's the thing. Music is sacred. Cool. So while you're watching anything, like doing anything, at least have an instrument in your hand, because you'll just be happy about that later. Right. I promise. And then I would sort of say, maybe, but not going to go long-winded on this, like, don't paint yourself into any particular corner, period. I'd be like, I don't know, man, that's a crazy question. But yeah, I do like the enthusiasm I had for things at the time I was young. So I'd be like, well, here's a pat on the back. Just remember, this might not be like what you think it's going to be when you're how old I am now.
Yeah.
That'd be like I'm telling you, I know you're certain of this, but try harder.
That's a really...
try harder to be better, mostly at the interpersonal stuff.
Okay. take care of your mind, right?
Take care of yourself and take care, like, the people around you aren't like your little brother and you can argue like your kids. Like, no, like, this is your life now and your career. Maybe treat everything around you with that type of reverence. I don't know. That would be the end of my rant on that. But
no, that's amazing. Those are two really good insights, and I appreciate you being so candid with us. And I think it's amazing, and for young musicians out there who might be listening to this episode, I think it's really impactful for them to hear things like that from someone who's been in so many, had a couple of different projects, been a musician for such a long time. So I really appreciate that.
And if they are listening, I encourage those kids to send me a DM or something if they ever have any questions, because everything is a mystery and you just wish. I'd rather tell some real kid.
Absolutely.
Like, look me up. Like, I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. Wide open book. Learn from my mistakes.
So this next question is a two-part question, and we can help you through it as well. But you have the show coming up tomorrow night, February 8th at Deep Dive with the Bumping Uglies. What can fans expect at this show, and how does it feel to share the stage with them? And then the second question is, what do you have coming up for Flying Object in 2024 and beyond?
Happy that we were offered the gig. I don't know whether TJ encouraged them to invite us or they invited us based on just knowing that it might be the right vibe. But Bumping Uglies, I keep hearing that I'm going to get along really well with them, which I hope, hopefully they want to hang out and stuff. But I just learned I had given them, they won't hear this, maybe they will, we can make jokes. I had given them the old assume they were from the West Coast thing in my brain. And they're from the East Coast. They're from Maryland, you told me. And
absolutely.
I'm like, I'm excited to hopefully joke with them about how I was like 70% more open to hanging out with them and thinking they might be cool when I found out they're from the East Coast.
Absolutely.
But they're cool. They definitely have a very positive and what seems to me to be, it's hard out here in the musical world. They seem to have a very healthy and well-adjusted vibe. They're like, hit us up being like they want to share gear. That's cool. Some bands are kind of goofy.
Yeah.
About drums and bass. It's like, to us, it's like, of course, use whatever.
Hell yeah.
And what can fans expect is we have not been able to play as much as we want to play. That sounds like an apology that we're going to suck. No. We are revved up. Max, the guitar, I don't know, PC, it's like a little crossover from your show to the Max world.
Yeah.
The rest of the world got like 30 Blanket, who's also playing a Deep Dive in March.
Yes, I did see that was coming up.
He plays the electric guitar, and he just digs in. He, made the band.
Absolutely.
It's so cool. And so we have, an hour at most. I'm sure it's 45 minutes or an hour we're playing. And we're going to just, dish it out. And I now look at it like a mistake, but I went and played Flying Object before it was ready, mostly in Ithaca. So I feel like every time I did a Flying Object show in Ithaca, it'd be like a dud. So I was like, nah, what we're going for, fellas. Let's try this some different way.
Well, I think there's going to be a great crowd out tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're just, so happy to see Ithaca like never before, and we're just going to drop it.
Absolutely. We're super excited for the show. Any plans to get into the studio in 2024? Any new albums coming out?
I'm so glad you asked. We're already in the studio. We did half of the work of tracking an album. And I'm going to say this, since you asked, we just played. And then, if stuff is overdubbed, it's mostly because somebody, couldn't be there or whatever. We're not doing much to it, man. It's going to sound very similar to what you would expect if you've been following us from the beginning with the live thing.
Yeah.
And happily, more than in any other situation, I would say just based on what we did so far, it reflects, really what we've been doing. How did you ask earlier, what was the vision for it? It was the vision for it was these songs to sound good. Darn it.
Yeah.
If we get the best musicians around, or at least the best ones I could possibly want to be playing with, how about we just let it sound how it sounds? And, that's how the record sounds. Nobody, it wasn't hey, Max, play exactly this. And he just shreds all over. So anyway, that's going to be done early March. We're going to be done tracking that, which is going to be a total of 4 days.
Okay, awesome.
Hopefully by the fourth day when nobody's playing or singing anything and we're just watching Jocko sort of get it organized.
That's amazing. Now, do you have a title picked out for the album yet? Self-titled, what are we going for here?
Homesick.
Homesick.
It's like our theme song.
All right, you heard it here first.
Yeah, Flying Object, Homesick is the record. It's the first track. It will be the first track, unless somebody tells us that they'll only give us $1 million to make another record. It's not the first track, but if it's up to us, the first track is Homesick, and it's a little bit like our theme song, and I could go into that. It's applicable, though, and it's a good one, one that makes me feel strangely at home, and meant a lot to me when I wrote it, and the band has embraced it. It's not like we sit and talk about, our old theme songs, because nothing about it is. But Homesick. The sentiment that song gets across is what we're trying to find, and to be as cliche as possible. In my very first opportunity to do so, for the moment, I'd be like, yeah, that's where the flying object is going. You hope it's going home.
Yeah.
Somebody find the way home. Because it's been a long road.
That is awesome. Matt, dude, I cannot thank you enough. This has been awesome. It exceeded any kind of really high expectations I had.
Well, hold on. Yeah. I gotta say something. So, was our highest listener episode with Chris?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. When Chris...
Matt,
when Chris, we had 100 listeners when we interviewed your brother. So
we're gonna see if you can top your brother in terms of our listeners.
What's funny is he was, which is unusual in the current circumstance. He was at my house, wandering around, going outside. He happened to be there.
That's awesome.
Doing that interview. I could hear him coming and going.
He was the best. It was so much fun to have him on. Yeah. And he was our first interview, and now you're our second. And we've really had a lot of fun doing this over the past couple of months. So, having people like you on has just, really helped us feel like this thing is working and that it's going. And so we really can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us today.
Appreciate
we're super excited about this show.
This takes too long, but you asking us to talk to you and this kind of stuff, it's very reciprocal. I don't know if 1 million people listen to you or 100 people have checked in or whatever the deal is. But keep doing it. Keep asking questions. Keep giving people the space, and then our community builds. And we get to. And I'll say this: listening to you do your opening, it was wow. You were talking about some of my favorite people on the planet. Just all at once.
Absolutely, man. This is what we're doing
talk
here.
About this.
All right, Matt. Thanks again so much. Take care, brother.
Yeah, take care, Matt. Be well.
Peace. Such a good dude. That was awesome.
I had to throw in there the little caveat about his brother being the most popular episode.
That's right.
See if you top that.
So good to have both of them on. It's been a great couple of weeks. All right, Sean, here we go. And now it's time for a segment we like to call
The Great Outdoors.
All right, so every couple of weeks you have some homework to do for us.
Yeah.
We send you out into the wilderness.
You do.
Nature calls.
Nature does call multiple times to me.
And you answer. And this week you went hiking out in Danby. I saw some pictures last weekend.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the place you picked out for us this week.
So where I went this past weekend was the Tamarak Lean To on the Finger Lakes Trail in Danby State Forest, like you said. It was a little brunch session out there.
Okay.
Yeah. So
solo? Was this a solo hiking trip?
Yep. And Danby has snow.
Oh, so they do? Yeah. Okay, there must be some elevation over there.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see. So where I went, it's on the Finger Lakes Trail. There's 2 ways to get in there. I actually went on the shorter trail, which is actually steeper. So shorter and harder.
Is that off of Curtis Road, or is that on the other side?
So where I went was off of 96B.
Okay.
On this road called Durfee Road, which is where I parked my car.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a mile in, but it's basically all straight up. And I didn't have that much stuff, but my goal was I hadn't been to the Tamarak Lean To in about a year.
Okay.
I brought some stuff for food. The night before, I made some pork belly with seasoned with some sweet and spicy Asian glaze to it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
that sounds really good.
It was really good. It was amazing, actually. I put it over sticky rice.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah, some chives added to it. I also had some miso soup. I had some nice tea. It was a good hike.
Awesome. And so tell me, what did you pack with you? You said you brought some food. Give me a list, like what is the supply? What's in your pack when you're trying to do a little day trip like this where you're cooking out in the woods and whatnot?
So what I did for curiosity was I have like one of those luggage scales.
Yeah.
Because I'm a notorious overpacker.
All right, so you actually weigh your pack before you head out?
Yeah, so when I weighed my pack when I started, it was 21 pounds. And then when I was done, it was 17 pounds.
Okay, all right.
I brought all this stuff for food.
So what's involved with that? You've got...
I had the pork belly already seasoned. I had some packets of sticky rice, which I just needed to like dunk in hot water. Mm-hmm. I had the dry pack of miso soup, which I just had to add water.
Okay.
And the cool thing about the Tamarak Lean To, which of all the lean-tos I've seen in the Phalanx Trail, this is the only one that has a water sprocket there, like fresh water.
Okay, wow. So there's like a spring?
There's a spring and there's like a little like help me here.
Is it just the mouth of a spring?
No, it's my God, I can't think of the freaking word.
Describe it for me.
Hose. Hose. Jesus. It's like a little hose.
Okay.
So which is nice because like a lot of times when you go camping or hiking, like you gotta bring water. You gotta bring water for hydration. You gotta bring water for cooking, for cleaning or whatever. And that can like take a lot of space and like weigh a lot.
Yeah. So
I didn't have to do that, which was huge, and that was kind of like my motivation to check it out this past weekend. But yeah, there was plenty with the sprocket there. I had plenty of water for like my soup, for the rice and my tea, and what else I'm bringing? I brought my folding saw.
Okay. Any chair?
I did not, because I so at the lean-to there's the lean-to there's already a grated fire pit there. Okay. And then there's a picnic table there.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. What other infrastructure there? Or describe the lean-to. It's got a wooden floor.
Wooden floor, wooden roof, 3-sided wall.
Okay.
And then there was like benches made there from like logs and stuff.
Okay.
And then like the picnic table, like I said. What else did I bring? I feel like I brought more than that, but like
Yeah, it sounds like quite a bit though. And so you brought 5 pounds worth of food, it sounds like, because your pack was
apparently I did.
5 pounds lighter when you left.
Right.
So what was the cooking process like? You had to make a fire. You brought a little bit of fire starter with you, I imagine. What'd you do for firewood?
I basically brought one of those like oversized like matches. I think you use them for on our hike, which was enough. Yeah. I got some like down branches there. With my folding saw, I cut down some trees, like small trees. Yeah. Just to get like the wood going pretty well.
And it burned hot.
It's nice because like they're great. So at a lot of these lean-tos, like there's a fire like pit grate, and then there's like a grate that like folds on top of the fire pit.
Oh, perfect.
So there's a grate there. You can like put your like pans there. And I do have like this like camping set that I got for $20 off of Amazon. Awesome. You're welcome, Jeff Bezos. And it just has like some pots and pans, some bowls, it's a cutting board. It's got like a little kettle in it, but it all kind of like collapses within each other. So it's maybe the size of like a football. Okay. It's super light and it's like super easy to carry, and it has like a bunch of stuff in it. So that's all I basically used.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how far of a hike is it from where you parked your car up to where you're going?
Just 1 mile.
Okay, and it was it level? Was it hilly? Was it uphill?
It's pretty steep.
Was it mostly uphill on the way there?
Mostly uphill on the way there.
Okay.
So and that's actually that's the shorter route because you can go from the east to the west. I went from the west side, and that's like the 1 mile hike in, but super steep hike in. I've gotten on the east side entrance, which is 2 miles plus in, but it's all flat. Okay. So it's basically straight off. You want to like do short and sweet and get over with, or you want to just like the casual hike in. Right. Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Dude, it sounds like a great time. Have you been there before?
But once.
And like did you camp when you went?
No, actually, this was like last winter, like a year ago, and I made burritos.
Okay, nice.
I also made some micheladas and some margaritas out there.
Dude, that's awesome. And what time did you head up there, and what time did you head out?
I got an early start. I think I went Saturday morning, so I think I left. I got there around like 7:30,
Okay, awesome.
and that was the whole place myself.
Yeah.
So it's like when I do these like hikes and I go to these like destinations, like these lean-tos, I was like, there better not be anyone there.
I know, right?
This is scary.
Then you got to go off and make your own lean-to somewhere. You're off in the woods, cutting down even more trees, setting up your own shelter, making your own pit, right?
I always like joke with my buddies, like there's like two types of people you meet on the trail when you're hiking.
Yeah.
There's like the person that like does not make eye contact with you and just totally ignores you because they want their space and like privacy, which I get and relate to. And then there's the other person that wants to be your best friend.
Yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, I found a hiking partner.
Right, another human being. Like we're best friends. Like it's like no. Like I'll say hi, I'll nod, and then like be on your merry way.
Yeah. Well, I can appreciate that. But I can tell that about you because I didn't get the call last week to come on the hike.
Well, you were sick.
Yeah, I was sick. Yeah. That's right. Thanks for not harassing me when I was sick.
I knew you needed your rest.
I did need my rest.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
I told you to drink your whiskey.
Yeah, I did take you up on that. I did try some whiskey. I think it did help a little bit, at least for 1 or 2 nights.
Dude, a little whiskey goes a long way.
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun today. I hope all of our listeners at home really enjoyed the show. Don't forget to check out Matt O'Brien with The Flying Object and Bumping Uglies on Thursday night at Deep Dive in Ithaca. Many thanks to him for joining us on the show today. That was a lot of fun. We'll definitely have him back and his brother. And I'm your host, Pete, and I've been joined by the ever insightful Sean. We hope you take this opportunity to discover the Tamarak Lean To in Danby. If you love what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support goes a long way to helping us bring you the latest and greatest from Ithaca. If you've got an event or a story or a local favorite, we'd love hearing from you. Reach out to us on social media. Shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep your finger on the pulse of Ithaca and make the most of this place we call home. Take care, everyone.
Good night, Ithaca.
Happy birthday, Kenny. Coming up on Friday, February 9th.